passed both houses of the Assembly and Senate, and their corrupt governor, Jane Brewer, vetoed it. The woman is so corrupt that it's hard to even describe it, because there was a lot of work that went into passing this law. I personally was on the phone with multiple state representatives, state senators. I traveled to Arizona several times. Actually, I was on the computer of one of the state representatives who was the driving force behind this bill and typing, and it is heartbreaking that a governor who claims to be a conservative, a Republican, who didn't even have to veto it, if she were to leave it sitting on her desk for 5 days, it would have automatically become law. And as a matter of fact, there is now a push to recall Jane Brewer. Left wants to recall her for their reasons, but now right wants to recall her too. And now it's a bipartisan effort to recall her. But it shows how much corruption is there, not only in the federal government, but at the top of our state governments, state by state.
So you agree with me, our government's corrupt from top to the bottom and back up again.
There is a lot of corruption.
The judges are corrupt.
There is a lot of corruption.
Don't you think Judge Land is corrupt?
Well, here Judge Land had the information showing that Barack Obama does not have a valid Social Security number. He does not have a valid birth certificate. And here is some more information that I would like to show. Here's an affidavit. Again, the same thing happened with Barack Obama's birth certificate. When he put it online, he didn't flatten the file, and we can see how it was created, how this forgery was actually created. For example, the signature of the mother.
Let's give it to the camera and see if they can get a close-up of that. That's good. Get that, Steve?
Here. They took the mother's signature, probably
that is so obvious.
From later time when she signed Stanley and Soetoro and Stanley and D. Soetoro, and apparently they deleted Soetoro, and then they added Anam Obama, and they came up with Stanley and Anam Obama. Clear forgery. And it's not just Judge Land. We have, I had several cases that I brought on Freedom of Information Act, seeking the redacted application to the Social Security. I showed this judge the evidence. This is fraud.
Did he actually hold it in his hands? Did he actually see it? Do you know that the judge actually looked at it?
I don't know. Today we have this fifth column, those gatekeepers who are the attorney, law clerks for the judges. Quite often judges just rubber stamp what's written by those attorney, law clerks. Who knows? But the decision of the judge was just inconceivable. And what's interesting, in his decision, this chief judge of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia is stating that Barack Obama provided his birth certificate. And he is eligible. And for what reason? How did he come up with this decision? Because he read an article in New York Times, some stupid article in New York Times, written by some stupid nobody by name Michael Schur, I don't know who the guy is, who saw some piece of garbage posted by Barack Obama on the internet. This piece of garbage that you have there, and because of hearsay upon hearsay, he concluded that Barack Obama is eligible. And it shows the level of corruption that we have in our judiciary, that U.S. judiciary became the laughingstock of the world. The judges and attorneys around the world are scratching their heads and thinking, what is wrong with the United States of America? Are all of their judges completely brain dead, or are they corrupt to the marrow of their bones? That the chief judge for the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia writes that Barack Obama presented his documents and he is eligible just because he read an article somewhere and because somebody saw something. And I was thinking to myself to write to him, what if somebody will post on the internet that Judge Lambert, the chief judge, killed somebody? What if I create some piece of garbage saying that Judge Lambert killed somebody? and some idiot in New York Times is gonna write an article about it. Does that make Judge Lambert a murderer?
Apparently so. Apparently so. And actually, I know of a judge that ordered someone murdered who had put a lien on the judge's pension. And that woman was murdered in December of '04. And they wrote the murder off as heart attack.
Well, I don't, you know,
But that's another issue. We're not going to go there. Let me ask you some quick questions. So, if you won the U.S. Senate seat, you replaced Dianne Frankenstein, Dianne Feinstein. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. That was a cheap shot. I apologize, Dianne, and I welcome you to come on the show, and I'll give you equal time, and you can spank my hand. Come on, Dianne. But I got to ask you some tough questions if you come, Dianne. So I'm going to ask Orly some tough questions. So,
what would I do?
would you restore the Constitution completely?
Absolutely.
That means we'd go back to gold and silver money, because it says Article 1, Section, was it 8 or Section 10? Nothing but gold or silver shall be coined.
We cannot have fiat money because we've seen what happened where
it's destroying us.
We've seen derivatives of trillions of dollars created.
You'd restore that part of the Constitution. How about the part that says Congress shall declare the war and set forth the reasons for the war, and they shall have a debate on it before we actually send troops to die? Would you support that?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, now during this presidency, Barack Obama started multiple wars. Nobody is talking about it. Here, supposedly, we have somebody who liberal, but let's look at his record. What is he doing? When he started the war in Libya, he did not go to Congress.
Three wars now. And he got the Nobel Peace Prize just a year or two before he started that war.
And he got this prize. He was nominated when he was in the White House for 12 days and spent most of the time eating pizza and watching football, in January.
And he gets the Nobel Peace Prize because he hadn't started the war yet. I think, the Nobel Peace Prize, as an aside, I think they've lost all credibility.
Absolutely.
They've lost. And I knew a grandson, when I was a youngster. I met I don't think he's alive anymore, one of the grandsons of the guy that set up the Nobel Peace Prize. He lives in North Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I met him one summer when I was 17. I think they've shamed the whole family. They've shamed the whole Nobel family by giving this guy the Peace Prize. 12 days in office. Now it's what? How long has he been? Now 3 years he's been in office?
But it's not just that. You can see that anything and everything that is done by Barack Obama is not what he promised to do.
It's just the Bush administration continued, isn't it?
Well, it's
Bush started 2 wars. Obama's continued 2 wars.
But I think it's worse. Specifically,
well, he started a third war.
Well, let's look at our economy. Every year he incurs $1.6 trillion worth of debt. That's 4 times more than Bush ever incurred. We were concerned about George Bush. This one is incurring 4 times more debt every year.
But he's just continuing the policy. Bush started the bailouts, remember? A month before Bush went out of office, or a month before the election, Bush told, what's his name, Paulson?
Hank Paulson.
Hank Paulson said, hey, Hank, go over there and make secret deals with Wall Street. And whatever you do, we'll keep it secret. Just make a deal. And that's what all these secret bailouts were made.
I think I would recommend each and every viewer to read a book by Peter Schweitzer that just came out.
Peter Schweitzer?
Yes, and it's called Throw Them All Out. And it shows how our congressmen, our senators, were engaged in insider trading. And during this banking meltdown, they were actually selling stocks and shorting stocks. When we all were losing our shirts, they were making money. And this is the reason why so many of them need to be thrown out of office. I don't know if throw them all out, but vast majority of them.
I would keep Senator Rand Paul in the Senate and Congressman and Dr. Ron Paul. I think we need dentists and doctors. I think we need people other than attorneys in our Congress, don't you?
Well, I think so too. I think people who see what's happening in real life. For example, because as you know, I'm both an attorney and a doctor of dental surgery.
I forgive you for being an attorney. but you're a good dentist and you're still doing dentistry. I don't know how you do it.
A lot of work.
You're the original human energizer bunny. Just don't. I've seen you work. I just don't know how you keep going.
But I see my patients, I see their families, I can see how American citizens are hurt. Millions are losing their jobs, when they're losing their medical benefits, medical and dental, and when they're losing their jobs, that are being sent to slave labor in China by our corrupt presidents and Congress. They're unable to pay their mortgages, they're losing their homes, they're losing their life savings, they're becoming destitute. And that is the reason why I'm running, because this has to end. And until and unless we replace our corrupt representatives and senators, as long as we keep the same people in office, nothing is going to change.
I agree. I mean, I agree. The question is,
what to do?
How do you get to that point? I had a young man on here. I don't know if you were here that day. I don't think you were. His name was Michael Warnken. And he did a 3-year research project. That's all he did. And
yes.
He said, the larger number of people per representative, the more dictatorial you get.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so worrisome when the globalist elite is pushing towards North American Union, because that would be a government that's even further away from the people.
Yes.
We're looking how North American Union is failing. It's a complete economic disaster.
Well, the European Union is failing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what
we just sent, what was it, $27 trillion 2 weeks ago to bail out the euro? 27 trillion, secretly done. Thank you, President Obama. I think a few Americans could have used that to pay their mortgages off. It boggles the mind.
Well, I'm not privy to those numbers, but there is clearly a problem, and how do you solve it? And I believe that one of the ways to solve this problem is going back to WTO GATT and reviewing this agreement. WTO GATT, World Trade Organization, Global Accords on Tariffs and Treaties, was pushed by both parties, by the elite of both parties.
That was done under Clinton's administration, wasn't it?
Clinton administration.
That's the only way they could get it through, because if it tried a Republican, the unions would have screamed. But since a Democrat did it, they got away with it.
I know. It was a warm and fuzzy bubble that sold us the bill of goods, and we're all now suffering from the consequences.
We're all suffering.
And this is something that needs to change. You can have free trade with countries that are similar to U.S., where the wages are similar, the benefits are similar, like Canada, Great Britain, France, Germany. But when you have unbridled free trade with slave labor third world countries, where people are getting $1 an hour, where here you have to pay at least $10 an hour, the corporations are making extra 90% profit and don't get to pay any taxes because of WTO GATT. And this has to be either repealed, or it has to be narrowed down, or modified, but something has to be done. And it's interesting that just recently, a number of congressmen and senators tried to make some changes. For example, they were looking to penalize China for their currency manipulation, and Obama refused to do that, stating, well, I'm concerned what WTO is going to do. I watched the debates, and I have to say that one person that mentioned that was Romney. And I do disagree with him on some issues, but on this issue he was right. And I'm hearing this globalist puppet, John Huntsman, saying, oh my God, what will WTO say? Will be penalized by WTO. And what I need to explain to the voters, WTO, World Trade Organization, just like IMF, International Monetary Fund, just like World Trade Bank, those are our creations. We created those organizations. We are financing and supporting those organizations. We are the boss. We can make those changes. It would be similar.
So you're saying we could abolish the WTO?
I don't say abolish completely. But we have to make changes where we can have free trade with countries where free trade would not take away millions of jobs.